Now, maintained status, which was previously called implied status, is a very talked about topic, but it's a topic with a lot of confusions, and oftentimes people end up making some big mistakes in their interpretation of maintained status, and hence can have devastating consequences. They can lose their status, they can lose their ability to restore their status, and they may have to leave Canada if they do not interpret or they're not careful about when they are in maintained status and when they're not. Maintained status during the processing of your IRCC application is something that is provisioned in the Canada's immigration regulations to benefit folks who have applied before the expiry of their status to continue to maintain their temporary resident status, and in some cases their authority to work or study based on the conditions. Recently, IRCC made some updates to the maintained status guidelines, and hence we wanted to make this video to talk about maintained status in general and to talk about the specific changes IRCC announced. So stay tuned until the end of this video. Welcome back to the channel, guys. My name is Dhruv. I am a regulated Canadian immigration consultant. At our firm Efficient, we assist all prospective immigrants with their immigration procedures to Canada. If you are an aspirant, you need assistance, here is our contact information. Please feel free to get in touch with us. We would be happy to assist you. If you would like to talk to me or any other RCIC in our firm about your specific situation, you can book a meeting. The link to book an appointment is in the description of this video. Also, guys, to stay updated about immigration, Canadian immigration news, make sure you subscribe to this channel. Coming back to the maintained status and their details, before we go there, let's quickly answer the comment of the week. This week's comment comes on our video on how to apply for Canadian citizenship, and the question is, on my passport, my given name is Jaspreet Kaur, and in the application form, it is asking for given name and last name. What should I do? Well, guys, for Canadian immigration, the last name is mandatory. So if in your passport you only have a given name, nothing in your last name, what you do is you put your given name in the last name section in the application form, or otherwise called the family name section, and you leave the given name in the IRCC forms blank. Now, coming back to maintained status. Maintained status, guys, simply put, is a provision by IRCC that says that if your status is expiring and before the expiry of that status, you end up applying for an extension, be it for a same status. So if your work permit is expiring, you apply to extend your stay as a worker or as a visitor or as a student. It does not matter. As long as you've done an extension application, you've applied to extend your stay before the expiry of your current status, that gives you maintained status. Now, this nuance of maintained status gets a little bit more tricky as we talk about maintaining your temporary resident status and authorization to work, study accordingly. Now, guys, before the expiry of your current status, if you have applied to extend your status, then you get maintained status and your temporary resident status gets extended, or you have maintained temporary resident status until a decision is made on your new application that you just submitted. Now, the authorization to work or study is a separate issue. So there is maintaining your temporary resident status, and then there is authorization to work or study. Now, for the authorization to work or study, you can only get the authorization to work if, say, you were on a work permit and you applied to extend your status as a worker. Then you can continue to work on your maintained status while you wait for the application to get processed. Here on the screen, guys, you can see the IRCC's clear example where they say the legal authority to work or study is separate from temporary resident status. So if, say, you've applied to extend your stay, you get temporary resident status during the processing period, but that does not necessarily mean that you get the authority to work or study. And let's talk about the examples that IRCC gives. So IRCC says that a work permit holder may continue to working under the same condition as their previous work permit until a decision is made on the extension application if they have applied to extend their stay in Canada as a worker before the expiry of the permit and they continue to remain in Canada. However, and this is where it gets interesting, if they apply to extend their stay as a visitor or a student, they must cease working within when their current work permit expires. Now, if you have applied as work permit holder to extend your stay as a visitor, well, you can continue to stay in Canada legally. You are legal, you are a temporary resident. However, you cannot continue to work. So this is where the nuance of authorization to work or study comes into picture. The second example, let's just go through that as well. Similarly, a student permit holder may continue their studies under the same conditions as their previous study permit until a decision is made on their extension application if they have applied to extend their stay in Canada as a student before the expiry of the permit and they continue to remain in Canada. However, again, if you have applied to extend your stay as a visitor or a worker, then you must continue to, or they must stop your studies. You cannot continue to pursue your studies anymore once your previous study permit expires. Now, to go into the details of how the technicalities work, let's look at the screen here. So first thing is date and time of the receipt of the application. So essentially, in order to continue under the maintained status, to have your legal temporary resident status stay valid, you need to make sure that your extension application is received before the expiry. And for the expiry, you can see that the date and time are important for determining if the status is maintained. Uh, and for the electronic applications, the department uses the UTC time, which is the Universal Coordinated Time System. And that time is 4 hours ahead of Toronto. So, guys, if you are in Toronto and it's 8 p.m., means 12 a.m. according to UTC. So, if you are in a position where your permit is expiring today, you must apply before 8 p.m. if you are in Toronto, and accordingly, if you are in BC, 5 p.m. or based on your time zone, just make sure you understand that IRCC's timestamp works on the basis of UTC, not on the basis of the Eastern Standard Time or not on your original time zone where you're located. Now, they do talk about this though. If you are applying for a paper application and if your application is received after the expiry of your permit, the officer has the authority to backdate it by 7 days because they understand that there may be unfortunate mailing delays because of strikes or because of any other reason, and hence they give you that option as well. So here you can see that particular thing. Now, guys, if you travel outside Canada during maintained status, it ends. If you end up traveling, then that is the end of it. Then, when coming into Canada, you get a brand new status. So, if you had maintained your status as a worker and you had the authorization to work, well, once you exit, that ends. So, then you cannot continue to work when you come back. So, the next thing is the decision and its effect on the period of authorized stay. So, guys, to put it very straightforward, if the application is approved, you're good. You can now continue to stay in Canada under the new status that has been provided to you as per the approval, and you can continue under the new authorization that you've gotten. Maybe you got approved for a work permit or a study permit. You then can start studying, working, depending on what authorization you got. If the application is refused, then again your temporary resident status ends on the day it's refused, and then either you apply to restore your status or you'll have to leave Canada. If the application is withdrawn, so if, for example, you choose to withdraw your application, say that you had another application you had to apply, and because of that you end up withdrawing this application, then the application um, essentially the withdrawal date, the date your withdrawal is registered, is the date where your authorized stay ends. So, as an example, if you had applied for an extension on March the 1st and your status expired on March 2, and on June the 3rd you end up withdrawing, then June 3rd onwards you have lost your status. That's the date the withdrawal is registered. Now guys, this is a very important update that IRCC has given. Subsequent application means that, say that your permit was expiring on March 2nd, you had applied for the first extension on March 1st. Now you are in a position where you are applying again a second application, and June 1st you are submitting a new application. This is a subsequent application while the first one is still under process. Before this second application would also give you maintain status until a decision is made, no matter the first one is refused or not. However, now things have changed. So guys, they say if the applicant submits their subsequent application for extension of status after the expiry of their status, they do not have maintained status during the processing period of the subsequent application. Now, this is a big change that they've made. This means in the example we talked about, if your application that you submitted on March 1st is still under process, you have maintained status. However, the day that gets refused, your second application that you submitted on June 1st does not give you any status. That application essentially should be accompanied by restoration fee. And I think the reason IRCC is doing that is to avoid that loophole where people just keep on submitting subsequent applications to maintain their legal stay in Canada. However, they don't want this anymore. So they are saying that the day your status expires, after that, if you're submitting a subsequent application, even if you are on maintained status, you need to pay restoration. In that way, they are giving you one chance at applying for extension and 90 days after your status expires to apply for restoration. And after that, you won't be able to make subsequent applications, or even if you make, they are going to get refused. So this was the big update with regards to maintain status. First of all, in summary, we have talked about what maintain status is, how is authorization to work or study different from temporary resident status, and what happens in the case the application is accepted, refused, or if the application is withdrawn, and how that can impact the maintain status. Most importantly, at the end, and that's the big change that IRCC has made, subsequent applications now do not give you maintain status. If your status is already expired, you have an application under process, and you make a second application, you have to apply with restoration. You cannot just apply a second application and continue to be on maintain status or have the authorization as a temporary resident. You will have to apply for restoration, and hence now a subsequent application does not help you maintain your status. I hope this video gives some clarity with regards to maintain status and with regards to what constitutes of maintain status and how the authorization to work or study is different from maintaining your temporary resident status. That's it for this video, guys. If you like this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell icon so you are notified about any new video that we upload. Thanks again for tuning in, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.